Good morning, Ohio. It's James Lewis of the Growing Truth Radio Network here with Jon Pessah of Yogi, A Life Behind the Mask. Thank you, Jon.
Hey, James. Great to be here with you this morning.
What inspired you to write the book?
Well, I was coming off a book where I wrote about the labor wars and the steroid scandal in baseball during the Bud Selig era, and I was looking for something to write that would put a smile on people's faces. And as soon as I had that thought, the very next thought was Yogi Berra. And sure enough, anytime I told people this is what I was doing, everyone smiled and wanted to tell me their favorite Yogi story. And it probably also didn't hurt that he was my father's favorite baseball player.
Nice. Yeah, I was going to say, I agree with you. I mean, he's one of those people that anytime you think back to him, it's always a positive. I mean, you don't really get anybody having any, bad things like you said, the steroids coming off of that. So, yeah, definitely a bright spot in baseball history. Why is this the definitive Yogi Berra biography?
Well, I really spent a lot of time looking at the last 15 years of his life, and I have to say that if my golden years are as golden as Yogi's were, I will be a very happy man. So active, and in 1998 they built the Yogi Berra Museum, which was during George Steinbrenner's and Yogi's feud when he was estranged from the Yankees, and it really reconnected him to baseball. And it's in Montclair, New Jersey, and it's a little jewel of a museum built very much like the one in Cooperstown, designed by the same designer. And so everything from the very early years, where I was lucky enough to find three of his schoolmates who lived on the hill of the Italian section in St. Louis, who told me what it was like to grow up with Yogi during the Depression, playing ball, and how he was the best player from on any field he stepped, through the war when he volunteered for a secret mission, through playing with the Yankees and Joe DiMaggio and Mickey Mantle, and being told by Branch Rickey that he would never be more than a AAA ball player. He led such a rich life, and there was so many levels to it that I knew there were a lot of books written about him, but I also knew that there was still plenty more to find out about him, and I certainly wasn't disappointed. I ended up having to cut 30,000 words out of this book to make it 500 pages, and there were so many great stories that didn't make it that I hope to put on my webpage.
Oh my, that is awesome. It's like you're reading my notes, because my next question was going to be, tell us your favorite story that didn't make the book.
Wow, there's so many. There's so many baseball stories, but I'll save those I'll let people read those on the book. One of the on the website. One of the ones that didn't make it is kind of a funny story about Yogi, and it showed kind of his one of his singular focuses so much on baseball that in 1992 he was having dinner with his oldest son Larry, his godson who lived in St. Louis and had been in town, Steve Mahood, and his wife. And the phone rings, and this is in the fall, and it's the election year with Bill Clinton, George Bush Sr., and Ross Perot, the first really viable third-party candidate. And the phone rings, and Carmen walks in, that's his wife, and says, Ross Perot's on the line. And Yogi says, I don't want to talk to him. And everyone was surprised, but Carmen politely declined, and Larry turned to him and said, Dad, that was Ross Perot. Why didn't you want to talk to Ross Perot? And he said, he was a terrible scout when he was at the Phillies, and I'm sure he's just as terrible now, and I just don't want to talk to that guy. That's one of my favorites, because it's just it just shows you. I mean, both the sense of humor and also how much he focused on the game of baseball that he loved so much.
That is awesome. Why did his father, Branch Rickey, and others not believe in him?
Well, it wasn't that his father didn't believe in him. I mean, we're talking about Yogi was born in 1925 and grew up during the Depression. And most kids, by the time they reached, especially in lower middle class families, like the Italian section in St. Louis, by the time they hit 8th grade, They could read, they could write, they could do arithmetic, and what more do you need to work in the mines or in the bakery? At least that's what their fathers thought, and they all went to work because they needed money to put food on the table. He had three older brothers, all of whom had received offers to play ball, and Yogi's father turned and said, absolutely not. And Yogi, to his dying days, said that his older brother Tony was the best player in the family. And when it came time for Yogi, he left. He wanted to quit school, and his brothers went to bat for him and told the father that they'd find extra work to make up for the money and let Yogi have a chance. And he was a terrific ball player, but for some reason, Branch Rickey didn't think. I mean, Yogi didn't look like a ball player. He had the upper body of a guy who's 6'2", and a lower body of someone who's 5'4". He looked like he was put together with spare parts. But man, on a ball field, he was fast. He was quick. He hit with power. Had a great arm. But Ricky fell in love with Joe Garagiola, Yogi's best friend from the times they lived across the street from each other at age 4 and 5. And he literally told Yogi that, listen, son, I'm saying this for your own good. You're not going to be more than a AAA player, and we're looking for people that could go all the way. And Ricky didn't make a lot of mistakes, but that was a big one.
How did Yogi get his nickname?
Actually, he kind of owes it a little bit to Branch Rickey in that when he didn't get an offer that he wanted to and sign with the Cardinals, and the St. Louis Browns, also his hometown team, offered him no money to sign, and he knew that if his father, if he didn't get any money and his best friend Joe got $500, that his father would say, that's the end of it, you're going to work. So he played American Legion ball. And he played for 2 years, went to the national championships both years, and during that time, one of his teammates was a kid named Bobby Hoffman, who ends up playing utility infielder for the New York Giants for about 8 years, and they went to see a movie, and there was a newsreel about India, and the Yogis sat with their legs crossed and their arms folded across their chest, which is how Yogi waited on the on-deck circle. And Hoffman said, you know what, I'm going to call you Yogi from now on, and it just stuck.
Oh, wow.
And I tell you, as a marketing, I mean, it's golden. How many people are known by their first names? If Ricky would have signed him, Yogi would have ended up being Larry Berra, probably an outfielder, because until Bill Dickey taught him how to catch his third year in baseball, he admittedly was not a very good catcher. And he probably might have won a World Series or two, and he would have been a Hall of Fame player because the talent was there. But he wouldn't have won 10 championships. He wouldn't have been in the media center of the universe and had all those stories written about him. And we probably wouldn't have had Yogi Berra and have been poorer for it.
So would we have had the cartoon character?
Without the nickname, there's no cartoon character. I mean, Hanna-Barbera, when they started he actually was. This will take some people back, but Yogi Bear started as a role player on the Huckleberry Hound show for the then fledgling animation studio called Hanna-Barbera, and this is in 1957. And Yogi was about as famous a person in America as there was. He was in the World Series every year, and back then the World Series was like a 7 to 10 day Super Bowl. It was the only national sport that people really followed. And he was on television all the time, on Ed Sullivan, on Perry Como. He was doing commercials, and of course he was on television all the time with the New York Yankees, both on the Game of the Week, which then was a big thing, and of course on the World Series every year. For them to start a bear who was kind of a goofy bear, which is the way Yogi was portrayed, and to call him Yogi and to say that they didn't have Yogi Berra in mind was that was kind of stretching it a bit, don't you think?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, the way I understand it, there wasn't even a lawsuit over it.
Yogi, the family considered suing, and I think they thought that, you know what, that's kind of bad publicity, And plus the fact that Yogi wasn't his given name, and it's not like he copyrighted him. His name was Lawrence Peter Berra. And so it would have been hard, I think, to win that kind of suit, and I don't think the family wanted that kind of bad publicity. So I think they thought about it and passed on it. And I will tell you though that not a lot of things made Yogi mad, but if you would have made the mistake and called him Yogi Bear, he would kind of get upset about that.
Why was he so quotable?
I'll tell you, he certainly had a unique way to look at the world, and part of it was, and I talked to a couple of linguists. I'm sorry, I'm butchering that word, but specialists in language. And Yogi grew up in an Italian neighborhood where Italian was the first language, and his mother understood English but didn't speak English. So Yogi thought in two languages, and anyone who's taken any of the Latin languages know that the syntax is very different, and the placement of where the words go are very different than they are in English. And I think this is a man who thought in two different languages. So, a lot of the things that he said made sense, but there were words missing, and it just, came out funny. And I think, my favorite Yogism, which I think is the most accurate, was I didn't say everything that I said. Meaning other people said a lot of those things, although he certainly said his fair share, as did Joe Garagiola, who rose from a local broadcaster in St. Louis after his playing career at age 28 when he retired, to become the co-host of the Today Show and the backup to Johnny Carson on the Tonight Show, and probably was as famous a personality as there was in show business at that time. And he rose up through the ranks telling stories about his best friend Yogi Berra. So that certainly made Yogi's fame quite far.
Excellent. And then last one I got to ask you, is he the greatest catcher of all time? Don't get me wrong. Our listeners are going to be biased because we're in Cincinnati, Ohio, so we kind of have somebody in mind.
I'll tell you, I saw Johnny Bench play, and he was amazing. In fact, I was at the first World Series I ever covered was in 1976 when the Yankees finally returned to the playoffs, and that was the first time since Yogi was fired as manager in 1964. And Thurman Munson was the Yankees catcher, also from Ohio, and Munson hit 455 in that World Series. They just couldn't get him out. And Munson was a great player. Johnny Bench was better. And, probably the best catcher I ever saw. And I only saw Yogi at the end of his career when he was more of an outfielder than a catcher. And I remember Sparky Anderson walked into the locker room after they had swept the Yankees 4 straight, and someone asked him to compare Munson to Bench, and he said, "Don't embarrass Thurman Munson by comparing him to Johnny Bench." And I got to tell you, as a Yankee fan, that one stung a little bit, but it was hard to argue that Bench wasn't just the best catcher I've ever seen. He just could do everything great.
And the funny thing is, just like you were mentioning with Yogi didn't start out a catcher. Same with Johnny. Johnny, when he was playing, most of the time he would play third base or something as a kid, and then they would catch for one inning just so he could say he's a catcher to get to the majors.
Yeah, Yogi actually was an infielder growing up, played second base, played third base, pitched, played a lot of the outfield. He was an outfielder his first year in American Legion Bowl when Branch Rickey decided not to sign him for the Cardinals. And it wasn't until the second year in American Legion Bowl, when no one wanted to play catcher, that he started playing catcher. And no one really taught him how to play catcher. In fact, he was probably in those first 2 years a better outfielder. He was surprisingly fast. To look at him, you wouldn't have thought so, but he was fast, and he had a really strong arm. And he played the outfield. In fact, in 1948, he played the last 50 games as an outfielder, and he batted well over 300. bunch of home runs and RBIs, and all of the national writers and all of the Yankee beat writers wrote that we had seen the last of Yogi Berra as a catcher, and that's a good thing because he's, as much as we like Yogi, he's not very good back there, and even he is looking forward to playing the outfield. And then the guy, Bucky Harris, was his manager. He got fired, and they brought in Casey Stengel, who knew the benefit of having a good hitting catcher. And he brought in back Hall of Famer Bill Dickey to teach Yogi how to catch. And every day in spring training for 6 weeks, they spent 2 hours after practice working on his catching skills. And by the end of it, Dickey predicted that not only would he be a good catcher, but he'd be the best catcher in the American League. And that's what happened.
Wow, that's some good praise. Jon, we've definitely enjoyed having you on the show. Before we let you go, where on social media, where on the web, and where's the best place to get the book?
You can find me on my website, Jon Pessah, PESSAH.com. There'll be a list of places where you can find the book there. It's on Amazon. It's on Barnes & Noble. It's also on the websites at Walmart and Target. So thankfully, even though bookstores are closed, there are a lot of places that you can find the book. And I got to tell you that I really was looking to write a book that would kind of lift people's spirits and put a smile on their face. As I said at the beginning of the show, I had no idea, no one did, that I would be putting out this kind of a book in this time of a time. And, you know, I think that people would like to kind of get lost in baseball and enjoy watching someone as unique and interesting as Yogi. So I'm hoping I can bring some of that to people who are locked in their houses for the foreseeable future.
Definitely. Thank you, Jon, and stay safe.
Yeah, you too. This was a pleasure, James. Thanks so much.